Okay, do you see what's going on here? Alright? So, here's what's happening. I'm still working on it. I'm going through binders, whatever, right? And I think I came across... Andre, turn that down, please.
Okay, normal.
Just turn it down for a minute. I think I came across Mr. Paul Evans, the lawyer. The lawyer. The one that Eleanor Gilding wouldn't let Uncle John talk to when she medically kidnapped him. Put him on the ferry, in the bowels of the ferry, all drugged up in her van in a freaking fucking hammock, okay? And then rushed him off to the Victoria General Hospital and said, look how I found him. Yeah, you took him out of a temporary care ward where he was being held captive and illegally drugged up, okay? And then you prevented the lawyer from speaking to him because, you know, he told me to go get a lawyer. And when I came back to tell him that I spoke to Paul and that Paul was willing to talk to him and talk to us and get on with it, getting him busted out of that freaking temporary care ward, and I got there, he was being loaded up in the hammock, but only I didn't know at that time because there was a whole bunch of people standing around with some ugly, witchy-looking woman saying, get away from here, you're being rude and disrespectful, and I had Andre, and I didn't want to create a scene, and so I went to the nurse's station looking for the doctor, and I said, where's John? Well, we don't know where John is because those people around that bed said that John wasn't there. No, I walked in, people, with them loading him up in the fucking hammock after they doped him up. Only I didn't want to go rushing in there and pushing people to see for my eyes. But I seen the hammock. It was the same hammock that they had when they took him from the main floor when he was on a gurney for 2 days or 3 days in the hall in the emergency ward before they put him upstairs. And by the time they put him upstairs and I went to go visit him, there was that hammock. Okay. Yeah. Look how you found him. No, you made him that way. Anyway. This is taking longer than I expected. But, so of course, when this stuff happened with Shamay, the first person I called was Paul, the lawyer. This must be his file. That's how I learned about these things. Because after it was all said and done, he gave me back everything. So I'm going through his stuff. And it looks like Amari's medical files are here. And I don't remember photocopying them. I must have. I must have gotten them, and then he wanted a copy of them. Because they're basically right here. At least some of them. I don't know. And of course, you know I'm looking for that one piece of paper that is so important when it relates to the urine and how I think it got copy and pasted from 2017 when he was born and then imported into 2018 when they were doing all those MRI botched tests and everything else that they were doing. I don't know. So, I don't have time to go through this and cross-reference it with what I already have done, because what I've got done is in the box. I'm not touching that. So at a later date, I will go through this. I will find out where it aligns up to, and I'll put it in where it belongs with the binder that I already have Mari's medical files in. Right? And then if I'm missing something, right, I can always photocopy and send it by registered mail to the other lawyer, the Barracuda. I'm just saying. Well, all this other stuff here appears just to be court. Appears. Right? Because honestly, I don't remember photocopying that for Paul, but I must have. I must have. And I'm going to have to go through, because basically what I've been doing since the last time I turned on this camera is I have, just for that general information, because it's not like Shamay can talk to this woman. Hi, my name's Shamay. Yes, I am the mother. This is what happened. You know, it's going to have to come in through a different way. And this is what I'm doing right now, is I'm giving her, you know, just whatever I can find that I think that might be of pertinence when it relates to, you know, just getting a general understanding of who Shamay was, what, you know, what she was doing, and just whatever, right? Or just the circumstances or whatever. So it's a modge podge of things. And then as this lawyer gets into the box, she can take this pile and then she can, well, this belongs here, this belongs there, it belongs in that pile. And then again, it will all just kind of like come together, right? Hopefully. So that's what I've been working on. And just so that I don't sound like some crackpot with some fabricated story, because I'm in, now I guess, Paul's files, I have a copy of Shamay's death certificate. So that's good. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So that goes in that pile. That's what I mean by miscellaneous general information. Because it's legitimate, right? Where she wants to put it, I don't know. Because that's basically what she's doing. She's dealing with the dead woman. Right? She's coming into my world. Walk with the dead as you walk with the living. Alright. I'm just saying. So as I'm doing this, you know, for me it's a lot of memory lane, okay? And my back is killing me. You don't even know, because I've been doing this for days. But I'm almost done, because once I do this little bit here, then I've just got my binder, and then I'm calling it quits. Oh yes, and I have Tisha's medical files too. I'm not going to submit all of Tisha's medical files because she doesn't want me to. But I am going to take the little part where she was born, the very first part of when she was born, because I can guarantee you they didn't list what they did to her at the time of Tisha's birth any more than they listed what they did to me with that oxytocin. They're not going to list that the baby came out blue. Yeah. Nope. Okay, and then I found, what is it? Oh my God, I can't see people. Where is it? This is what this video is about. We're going to go down memory lane. Okay? And it has to do with, oh my Lord, where is it? I was on such a good roll. I'm just frying my eyes out. You see, I got to get this done before I go for this eye surgery, because seriously, people, I might not be able to read anything after the fact. Anything could happen with that going around my iris with a pipe cleaner. Anything could happen. I could get an eye infection. That would be really bad. Oh, who knows? My eye can bleed. Right. I could go blind. But I'm not letting that stop me. Right. Okay, let me turn this off and find what I'm going to read to you, because it's, as I was fighting, bugging, harassing the RCMP to do I guess you could say a criminal investigation. It wasn't just simply an investigation. I wanted a criminal investigation as to what happened to Shamay, right? Because they didn't do it when they came here, people. And so it gave me a bit of time to work on a timeline before they showed up, because they didn't show up for like 3.5, 4 weeks. Then they showed up, like the investigators. All right.
I'm gonna go have my bath now.
Yeah, okay.
How do you give her Maria's bottle?
Pardon me?
You give her Maria a bottle.
Okay. So it gave Tisha and I some time to really sit down and work on the timeline. Now, I think somewhere in the past, I probably read this already on one of my long time ago videos. I don't remember. I mean, knowing me, I'm pretty sure I did. But in light of what I'm doing and where we're going with it, you know, I think it's good to bring it back up to the surface. And I'm glad I'm so glad, you don't even know. I am so glad that I'm doing what I'm doing, because once the lawyer gets this, and this, and this, and this, and she's piecing everything together, right? I mean, how do you talk about your daughter when your daughter should be speaking for herself? Right? It's hard. But when you have paperwork like this that you can draw on, that takes it right to the root of whatever it is that's on the paper, in terms of, you know, her character and what she was doing in terms of work and school, and, you know, the timeline from the time that, you know, she basically met Julian, I guess, to the time she was murdered, people. Because that's what this timeline is about, right? I mean, how do you tell that to a lawyer where it makes sense? Well, you get into your old paperwork and you look up for the timeline, and it basically expresses it right there. It's pretty spot on. The only thing is I can't find it. Hold on a minute. Okay, so we're going to read this. Well, I'm going to read it. It might be the last time I ever read anything on YouTube, or anything else for that matter. Seriously. Don't take anything for granted in life, people. You just never know when you're going to go blink blind. Or nearly blind like me. Right? Always in a fog. You know? But what you gonna do? Go away from me, cat. Now, this is, you know, in light of what's going on, right? So we have the RCMP file number 1849-600. Get away from me! Why are you bugging me? Like, seriously. It's, I think, 19 pages. Something like that. And then there's some stuff here with Tasty Bonnie. And she'll be, why are you coming for me? Fuck off, bitch. Are those little brain munchers coming to you? Are they getting in there? They're so embedded now, you'll never get rid of them. Okay, anyway. Brief history. Oh my God. What can I see, people? After this, I'm pretty much done, and then put those away, and then I'm going to do my medical files, and that little, just in regards to the kids, well, that's all there's in my medical files with Surrey Memorial Hospital, and just that little few pages of Tisha when she was born, that's it, from Tisha's files. Because I know they didn't list that she came out blue. I know that for a fact. So, why would they list that they injured Amari at the time of his birth? They wouldn't. And the video that I just uploaded, I was in the mid-sentence to explain that apparently Shamay's water did break, because I asked Tisha about that, right? Because in Amari's medical files it says that he pooped while he was inside her stomach. And I said, well, you know, like, we just brought up the subject of the amniotic fluid, and apparently, because Tisha was with her, I kind of remember, but I kind of don't. Because, you know, I couldn't get involved, people, because Julian was fucking around, right? I didn't want to stress out Shamay any more than she was already stressed out with that dude, right? And I knew Tisha was going, and, you know, if she really needed me, I would have went to the hospital, but I didn't go because, you know, there was too much conflict going on with Julian. Okay? So I guess Tisha and Shamay were coming up the stairs. Shamay was first, Tisha was behind her. Shamay stumbled on the stairs, and I guess her water broke. She said that's why I remember, because her water broke and we were coming up the stairs and she stumbled. And then she came in here and she told me, and I said, well, go back to the hospital. Go back to the hospital. This is like the 6th time that she'd gone to back, well, third, like she went from between the 3rd and the 6th, and they turned her away 2 times, right? So she was there on the 5th, but her water broke on the 6th. She was there on the 3rd. Wait a minute. She was there on the 3rd. She didn't go back on the 4th. She went back on the 5th. They sent her home again, 2 times, both times with morphine that she didn't take. And then her water broke on the 6th, and then she went back, right? And I said, well, do you remember the amniotic fluid being, you know, whatever, right? She said, no, it came out clear because, you know, so, because it said in Shamay's medical file that the amniotic fluid was clear. So Amari hadn't pooped yet, people. But when he was born, he did, because it's listed in his medical files that he pooped and that they had to give him some sort of something for that, right? Just to prevent infection, I guess, right? Okay. Oh, these are worse. Doesn't help when I'm flipping around freaking glasses all the time either. Okay, let me just see. Let me see if I really just kind of want to read this, and then I'm just putting it in there. And I mean, Shamay can't speak for herself. This is the only way she can speak. Okay? A brief history of Shamay's relationship with Julian Johnson. Now, you have to remember, this is going to the RCMP. I had the RCMP investigators in mind. The ones that were not the ones that came to the house and did the cover-up, quote-unquote, but the ones that were going to investigate, really investigate, like a forensic investigation, under the suspicion of murder. I wrote this for them so that they had a fairly decent timeline. So I worked on that for a couple of weeks as I was trying to get them to come to the house, and they didn't want to come, people. But eventually they did, because, you know, anyway, that can go into my videos. I'm going to have to put them in a playlist. All right, let's just focus. So this is just a brief timeline. So 2015, Shamay began to date Julian Johnson in the middle part of the year 2015, after she broke up with Freddie Brocco. Freddie, anyway, right? 2015. Julian's sister, Tamika Johnson, began to date Freddie Baracco, after Shamay broke up with him. Shamay knew Tamika Johnson only because she dated Julian. So she never met Tamika, basically, until she started dating Julian. Okay? And when Shamay started dating Julian, she was on the rebound from Freddie. Okay? And Julian was only her third boyfriend. Her first boyfriend was the kissing boyfriend, and then it was for Freddie for like 5 years or whatever it was. And then they broke, it was breaking up, right? Don't forget, Tamika put the bobby pins, the hand cream, and the tampons in Shamay's in Freddie's bedroom to speed up the process of Shamay and Freddie breaking up, because she was waiting for Shamay to go back to Freddie's house to find the tampons, the hand cream, and the bobby pins, right? So that she'd get mad because there was another woman in Freddie's bedroom. But Shamay herself didn't know Tamika yet. So I guess Tamika was sneaking around or something. Because by this time she was already dating Julian. She wasn't going back and forth between Freddie and Julian. She broke up with Freddie, but it took a while to break up with Freddie, as Tamika's running around in the background planting shit in Freddie's room so that Shamay would find them, get mad at Freddie, and then break up, and then somehow she met Julian. Okay? And of course I'm oblivious to all of this, right? 2015, despite making an effort to be friends, Shamay could not establish a healthy relationship with Tamika, as she had a history of lying to Shamay. So, oh sir, this girl can put up pictures of her and Shamay hanging out, being the best of buddies, but that didn't last too long, people. It wasn't long before Shamay figured out that there was something wrong with the girl and she didn't want anything to do with her outside of she was still dating Julian. Was she dating Julian to be spiteful to Freddie? Who knows? I don't know what compelled Shamay to make the decision that she did, other than, losing Andre, losing her sister, losing Uncle John, just the whole 9 yards with that cortisol going in the brain. It breaking up with Freddie, it just played a bad role on derailing her from being the brainiac that she was, and pursuing her career to be a nurse or whatever, right? So okay, I'm supposed to read, not make excuses for Shamay, right? Because I don't understand it, people. I do and I don't. Some things I understand, other things I don't understand, right? And just because I understand something doesn't give me back my daughter, right? Anyway, 2016, Shamay had gotten pregnant on 2 separate occasions by Julian, which resulted in abortions to terminate the pregnancy. Because, he wasn't, when she met him, Freddie got him a job as a framer, because Freddie was a framer. Freddie worked all the time. Julian came out here from Alberta. I don't even know how Julian met Freddie. But anyway, when Shamay started dating Julian, he was a framer with Freddie. Or whatever. He was framing somehow, some way, right? Because, it's just, how people are, right? They're all in the same district. So, anyway. So when she met him, he was a framer. But once he got comfortable in the relationship, he whacked his thumb, said he couldn't work anymore, tried to go on long-term disability and get, compensation for his injured thumb. They denied him, and then he just started selling drugs, people. So, of course, by this time, Shamay's already been with him for a while. She's committed to the relationship, and, he's wooing in her ear, don't worry, baby, we're going to get rich, blah, 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 blah. And then she's just stuck, right? Stuck in a bad relationship, right? And first time she was ever really in that relationship, and it's not like she wanted to bring a baby into the world, but she got pregnant, so she did what she did, right? I didn't know about it, okay? I found out about it later. She admitted it to me later, right? And it was starting to bother her by the time she got pregnant with Amari, and she's scheduled to abort Amari, and I told her, don't do that, Shamay. You just need to everything will be fine. You don't have to be with this guy, right? It's okay to be a single mom. Don't worry. If you can't do it, I'll be here to help you. There's always adoption. Like, there's lots of choices, right? You know? Just don't do it. It's not good for you, right? You know, I don't want to talk to you no more if you do it again. It's enough that you've already done it. Like, give yourself a chance. It's not good for you. Whatever. So she listened to me and she decided to keep Amari, okay? On Shamay's third pregnancy, On Shamay's third pregnancy by Julian, on the advice of her mother, of course I have to write these things like at arm's length, right? Father, her dad, sister, Tisha, and her friends, Shamay decided, because everybody was saying it, right? Shamay decided to keep the baby. Hence, Shamay canceled her scheduled appointment to terminate her third pregnancy by Julian. She came to me, she says, "Gee, Mom, I'm fertile like you." I said, "What's that supposed to mean?" "Oh, I sleep with him once and I got pregnant. It happened more than once." I said, "As if I didn't warn you, Shamay." Right? That's the way it works. It's like they can smell that you're ovulating, and that's when they get you, right? Like a dirty cat, you know? 2017. Shamay had a difficult pregnancy that resulted from a lot of arguing between Julian and herself, because once Shamay got pregnant, Julian got comfortable with his position as quote-unquote father, and anyone with any kind of critical thinking skills and has any sort of knowledge about domestic violence know. And you know, when I was asking her to keep Amari, it never even crossed my mind, people, because they were arguing before she got pregnant with Amari. That's why, you know, she wasn't keeping the first ones, right? Because there was too much arguing, because she wanted him to stop the selling the drugs and he wouldn't, right? But for whatever reason, he'd woo her and she'd get pregnant, and then she aborted. And so, okay, that was by the third time, right? She decided to keep the baby, and once he got wind of that, oh man, he became more violent, more aggressive, just worse. I forgot about that part in men, people, because they think their lot in life is set. They think they own you. They think they can control you and abuse you and do whatever they want once they knock you up, basically, right? But I survived, so I thought Shamay would survive. That's why I didn't feel like I was putting her in danger by saying keep the baby. No matter what's going on with a bad relationship, you can break away from that relationship, but you can never get back your baby. So don't sacrifice the baby for a bad relationship. Better to get rid of the bad relationship and keep the baby, Shamay. That's the best thing for you and the baby. Okay? But Julian, you know, I forgot that men can get fucking crazy, right? And he did, people. He got fucking whacked. Okay? From a lot of arguing between Julian and herself. And Julian displayed aggressive behavior towards Shamay on numerous instances where he would either punch holes in the walls, break doors, flip furniture over, and we're talking a leather couch, break TVs, like 4 or 5 of them, and smashed out a window. 2017. And this is while Shamay's pregnant, okay? Julian also displayed an unusual fixation on Judy Chorney, Shamay's mother, who would mentor Shamay at the time of her being pregnant and trying to remove herself from an abusive relationship with advice on what life choices Shamay should make. In other words, have your baby, don't worry, keep the guy at bay, don't let him back in, right? Once he's out of the, like once she got him to move out, right? Of course, his behavior got even more erratic, but besides that point, right? And then after she was going to have the baby, you know, go back to school. Do what you initially wanted to do, Shamay. right? You see, John, people, if they would never have medically kidnapped Uncle John, we didn't need his money. We didn't need his inheritance. Only Eleanor Gilding needed it. She was the only one that was greeting over it. Okay? We weren't even aware. What we wanted was just to be the family that we were. And when they took Uncle John, oh my God, people. Again, everybody became suicidal just like it was when they took Andre. We all felt suicidal when they medically kidnapped Uncle John. So through that cortisol going on in her brain, you know, not once, not twice, but 3 times over a loved one because of the public union sector and what they like to do in terms of plucking one out here and plucking one out there, throwing another one out in the fucking streets, right? She met a bad guy and she didn't know how to deal with it because he was technically really only her second boyfriend. Freddie and Shamay fought, yes, but nothing. Freddie was nothing like Julian was. Nothing. No. Freddie was mild compared to Julian. So Shamay took it for granted and didn't realize that Julian was actually a very dangerous human being. And because I expected her to react quickly in terms of keeping him at bay, especially the more violent he was becoming and aggressive he was becoming, because I was able to do it, you know, she was successful at it. But at the end of the day, when he cried, "Oh, my mother's house got robbed. I need to come out and hide out for a little while until things calm down. Can I come to the house?" And she let him in, people, at 6:30 in the morning, and she was dead by 9. And by 10, he called Wolf. Because he had already cut a deal with the dirty cops, and that's why they let him walk. But of course, I didn't know about any of that back in those days because, you know, you're just going through the motions, right? But that cop cued Julian. They looked at each other in the eye. I was standing right in the middle of it. I seen it happen. I felt the vibe go between the two of them. And as soon as that cop looked at Julian and went like that, Julian's arms went up. And the cop said, "Take Judy down the hall to, you know, go, Judy, take him down to Shamay's room and you deal with it." Because that's what it was about. They needed a distraction to get me out of there so they could hook her up to that perfusion machine and load her up in that freaking hammock and then haul her ass to the hospital for illegal organ harvesting. Julian fucking knew it. Because Shamay wasn't the first person. And that's what's happening in the province of British Columbia, Canada. There is no statute of limitation on murder, people. The province of British Columbia, Canada, was Sonia too, who represents the Attorney General's office and the Public Safety Solicitor Attorney General's office. They'd like to think so. Because they just, you know, everybody's a drug addict. They either killed themselves or it was an accident. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway, talking too much here. I'm supposed to be reading. Number 7, 2017. Julian also displayed a unusual fixation on Judy Chorney, Shamay's mother, who would mentor Shamay. Okay, we read that. Number 8, 2017. Julian would threaten Judy with acts of violence that involved smashing out all the windows. Shamay sat right here. He was texting her, phoning her, "I'm coming to the house. Tell your mom I'm coming to smash out all the windows. Everybody come outside because I got a gun." Crazy shit. Okay? This is when she was pregnant. Okay? Like, seriously, man. Setting the house on fire or injuring every adult member in the household with gun violence, because he threatened to shoot us all. He wanted us to all go outside so he could shoot us if he wasn't smashing out all my windows or whatever. he was making threats on about. Because she didn't want to be with him, people. He also would threaten Judy that she would never get the baby after it was born. And the reason he did that, people, is because I told Shamay. Because, you know, she was nervous to keep the baby, right? Because single mom, stigma, and, you know, and problems with Julian and whatever, and just whatever, right? And I just said, don't worry about it. If you can't cope with it, I mean, what mother wouldn't say this? This is why I didn't coddle Shamay when she had the baby, people, because it wasn't like I asked her to have the baby so I could get the baby. I asked her to keep the baby for herself and for the baby. If she could have mended her relationship with Julian because Julian was willing to change his ways, so be it. I wasn't going to interfere with that any more than I was going to interfere with her parenting skills. But if he was going to run around being violent and threatening and all this other crap, then damn yeah, you stay the fuck away from him. Don't let him back in. Right? Let me warn you now, because if you let him back in, the problem won't go away. And, you know, there is always the potential that these guys can snap and fucking kill you. But, you know, that's so far and few in between that you don't really think about it until it actually happens. Okay? And by then it's too late. You can't turn back the clock. Shamay, at the time of her being pregnant, let me see. I can't see. I'm submitting this to his lawyer. If Shamay was alive, she'd tell it herself, but she can't. She's not here, so I have to tell it. This is legitimate. All the windows out of the house. He also would threaten Judy that she would never get the baby after it was born, or in some instances would never be allowed to see the baby either, because they would fight. And then he'd come up to my back door and he would scream at me, or scream at me through the window. These things. As she was trying to send him away, and I'm trying to send him away, to go away, and he didn't like it. But he'd leave, so we never called the cops. Plus, we didn't want to draw a lot of attention, right? In terms of, you know, just bullshit, right? Get the cops coming to the house too often with the baby on the way, and we know what the fuck happens, as if we wanted more trouble, right? But the fact that he left, you know, we were just kind of hoping that he'd grow up, but he never did. He got worse, people. It's so freaking hot in here. Well, I need a tank top. (2017) Police were never called because Julian would leave the premises when warned by Judy or by other members in the household to either leave or get arrested when acting out inappropriately. Hold on a minute, I'm like breaking out in a sweat with this. Okay, I don't know if you can see me sweating here, but anyway, I've been like literally frying my eyes out here for the last 3 days. I'm putting in like 12-hour days here, okay? Okay, you gotta admire those paralegals that photocopy all this crap as it comes in, right? And you gotta admire those lawyers and paralegals that take the time to read the stuff yet. And then try and figure it all out so it makes sense, right? Okay, so where were we? Alright, Julian would threaten, this is number 8, with acts of violence. We already read that. Judy, okay, and then we'll just start halfway through. Members of the household with gun violence. He also would threaten Judy, that she would never get the baby, right, after it was born, or in some instances would never be allowed to see the baby either. So even though he didn't live here, Shamay lived here, he figured once the baby was born that I would never be able to see it because he was going to get it. Okay, don't ask me how he thought he was going to get the baby, but he did. So you can see where his mindset was at. So nobody's surprised. Nobody should be surprised that Shamay got murdered by him with a mindset like that. Okay, but of course, we were just trying to survive, keep the baby alive, and hoping that he would fucking smarten up and calm down and, become fucking responsible or something. I don't know. Okay, number 9, still 2017. Police were never called because Julian, would leave. We read that one. Number 10, 2017. Julian was resentful that Shamay and her mother communicated regularly and that Shamay chose to stay home instead of moving into an apartment to house Julian, who couldn't house himself. Julian would badger Shamay constantly to move out with him despite him not having a legitimate job. And they fought often about this. Right? 2017. Julian tried to live with Shamay on several occasions by superimposing himself into the household. But Shamay didn't want to live with him. And eventually, Julian left. But it wasn't long before he tried to move back in after the residence he was living at had a woman die and the house got raided by the police. That's when Julian came here with that safe, busted up the safe in my garage, and just left it there. And then I argued with him constantly for a month or whatever it was, right along with Shamay, to get them the fuck out of the house, unless, of course, eventually we would have had to call the police. But, and that's when he went back home to his mother's, because I told him, go home to your mother. Eventually he left again. So 2 times we kicked him out, people. And when he killed Shamay, he was living with his mother and his sister at his mother's house. Because I guess he figured I'd never get the baby, and then that's when he came the next day asking for the baby. As the day that Shamay died, Tamika was on the freaking cell phone with Tisha, texting her that Julian was going to come get the baby, and that it was his son, and that he could do that. Yeah, okay. Stupid shit, man. And this is what the cops are covering up. Okay. 2017, number 12. Julian was then known to move in with his mother, Sonia Johnson, after Judy had told him to do so on numerous occasions when Shamay and him would fight. 13, 2017. Shamay gave birth to Amari on September 7th of 2017. Number 14, 2017. Judy had Shamay move upstairs because of her and her sister were changing rooms so that Shamay would have the larger room for herself and the baby. In addition to, Judy could easier help Shamay with being a new mom for the first month or 2. Because I told her, you move back into your old room, because she loved that room, right? She resented the fact that she had to go downstairs and that room sat empty for 15 months as we all fought for Andre in court, trying to get him back from MCFD, right? So she was forced to move downstairs. She never liked it, but she did, right? Because Uncle John had to come up because Joan by that time went into long-term care and Uncle John couldn't be downstairs by himself, right? Tisha ended up going downstairs too. She got the bigger room. First it was Shamay got the small room because Sierra got kicked out, so she went into Sierra's room. And then when Joan left, John had to come up, which made the bigger room available, and Tisha just went from her room upstairs down into the bigger room. And then I pleaded with Tisha when Shamay got pregnant to let Shamay into the bigger room, but Tisha didn't want to give up the big room, so I couldn't force it. And then once Shamay was getting close to having the baby, that's when Tisha realized that Mom had a point. Shamay needed the bigger room, right? And so they were going to do that after the baby was born, right? I mean, I can't change that timeline of events, people, right? Even if Tisha would have gave her the bigger room, I still would have had the same problem with Julian. Okay, and now you have to remember, Tamika's nowhere to be seen or heard because Shamay hadn't talked to her for like 6 months or more because of the shenanigans that was going on with Freddie. Okay, Tamika didn't show up on the scene until the day Shamay was murdered. Okay, just keep that in mind, people. Oh, maybe they did something, had a little dinner or something, a little Christmas dinner, and Tamika showed up and, they were cordial to each other. But Shamay had no relationship with that girl, okay? And she wasn't coming to my house. Maybe before Shamay got pregnant she was, because they were trying to create my basement into a fucking shack so that they could run their drugs. Julian run his drugs with those little homies. And, they were trying to, bump Shamay to be a fucking hoe, people, because his sister was already hookering by that time and dancing and God knows what else she was doing. Who knows? Who fucking knows, man? And you can't tell me the cops didn't know about it because they did. Okay? They know everything. Hell, you could be sitting here doing something, think of something, and then, you go onto your computer 2 hours later, and whatever the hell it was that you were thinking, it's like right there advertising you. Well, come look at this video, and here you were thinking of that. Not even 2 hours ago. It kind of makes you wonder how they tap into your brain like that. Right? I think they do it through dentistry. Somehow, something, they do something. I don't know what they do. Andre, turn that down. Anyway. Yeah, that woman died. That was his best friend, apparently, mother who died. And he showed up here with a fucking safe. They all ran out of that place like a bat out of hell. And I guess the cops, they put it all on lockdown, raided it and everything else, and who knows. And then he thought he could move back in here, and it took me like a month of arguing and screaming and hollering at him and making threats on him to get the fuck out, to go live with his mother. Then he finally left and he went to his mother's house. Alright. Judy and Shamay moved upstairs. Okay, so we read that. Shamay with her being a new mom. Okay, we read that one. So so at first she had to come upstairs. Right? You heard me talk about this stuff. Here it's written down. This is just for because, it's not like the lawyer can meet Shamay. Hi! No, she gets everything third party. Right? This is how she gets to meet Shamay. And, but we know they couldn't follow the rules. They couldn't come to the house at a decent hour at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and hang out downstairs in the living room with Shamay and see the baby for however long. Wouldn't have mattered to me, right? But no, they had to come by at, well, I say 3, 4 in the morning. Tamika gets up on YouTube. Oh, no, it wasn't 3 in the morning because I had to be back at Freddie's house by a certain time, so I came by at 1 in the morning. I only stayed till 3. Yeah, okay. Whatever. You fucking idiot. Point is, you didn't come at 4 in the afternoon. You came when I was sleeping. And then you bum rushed Shamay around the house as you were poking through my shit, basically. Yeah, that didn't last too long because within 2 or 3 days, whatever it was, I said, nah, you need to go back downstairs since you can't keep these people out of my space. And that was their cue to say, oh, well, come to our mother's house and hang out there for a week or 2 while you switch over the rooms and blah, blah, everything will be great. You know, you'll have baby bond time with my mom. And yeah, no. That's why Julian started beating on her not even the next day, right? As they're switching over the freaking name off of the federal government with the birth certificate and took Shamay's name off and just pushed send when Julian's name was on it and nothing but Julian's name. And then Tamika tried to kidnap the baby after the fact because Julian started beating on her. Yeah, okay. It's in here. Talk about bad seeds, people. 2017, number 15. Julian and his sister Tamika didn't want to follow basic. I haven't read this since I fucking wrote it, and Shamay's been dead since 2018. Like, I got this timeline down pat. I don't need to read it to know what's on it. I don't need to fucking read it to know what the timeline is. I lived it, for crying out loud. Didn't we just do this with something else I was reading? Follow basic rules when coming to the house to visit Shamay and the baby by way of superimposing themselves as a tag team to put pressure on Shamay to have them roam free upstairs in the middle of the night when Judy was sleeping. Number 16, 2017. Within the first week, it wasn't even a week, people, it was like 2 or 3 days, I got fed up with it real fucking fast because I figured it would happen and I was giving them all a benefit of the doubt that it wouldn't, but clearly they were up to something, right? Of the baby's birth, Judy had to ask Shamay to move back downstairs into her own bedroom because of what Julian and Tamika were doing regarding coming to the house between, okay, I got it written down here as 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning to visit the baby. Like, who does that? Okay. Number 17, 2017. Consequently, due to the room changes between the sisters, which was going to take about a week to complete, Shamay decided to go to Julian's house, but she quickly left within a few days because Julian was manhandling her when the baby was on the couch. So the baby's on the couch, they started manhandling, okay, right? I guess Shamay decided to go upstairs, start grabbing her stuff. That's when she came downstairs. That's when Tamika was holding the baby, as Tamika's mom, Sonia, was sitting there on the phone ready to call somebody because Tamika was going to leave with the baby because Tamika was going to kidnap Amari. Shamay told me. And that's when Shamay said, no, give me my... She said, to hell with the shit upstairs. She turned herself around, went back down the stairs because she got a funny feeling about the whole situation. Tamika refused to give back the baby. They argued back and forth. Eventually, Tamika gave back the baby. Shamay said, give me my phone. Tamika refused to do that. Shamay walked out the door with nothing but her clothes on her back and the baby, and she left everything else behind. And then that Sonia 2 showed up. Well, Sonia 2 works for the government, but Sonia 1, she showed up at my house 3-4 weeks later with a big fucking pole up her ass, basically threw everything on the ground, scowled at me, and drove off. Yeah. Okay? I'm serious. I couldn't believe it. Never met the woman in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're the one with the crazy fucking kids, not me. Right? Right? You don't see my kids beating on your kids, but you can see your fucking kids who are doing crazy shit to mine. Stupid shit, man. Stupid fucking shit. 2017, number 18. Julian's mother and sister witnessed this physical confrontation while at the same time participated in trying to take the baby away from Shamay when she went halfway up the stairs to begin packing her belongings to leave. Shamay told her sister Tisha that she heard Tamika tell her mother that she was calling a friend to come pick up her and the baby because she was going to run out with the baby. Okay, the mother didn't call the friend. Tamika was calling the friend, and she was telling her mom that, hey, I called so-and-so to come pick me up because I'm leaving the house with the baby. That's fucking kidnapped. And that was after her brother started beating up on Shamay. And Shamay had just had a C-section within the last 7 days. This all happened within a week, people. Shamay was only upstairs for 2-3 days. And she was only at Julian's house for 2 fucking days before this shit happened. Okay? Stupid. That's why they were coming in and out so early in the morning, because they knew I'd get pissed off and tell her to go downstairs, and that was their way to convince her to go there, just so that she had time to switch over the rooms and they could have baby time together. But no, it wasn't anything like that. They were trying to get the baby away from her then, people. There is no statute of limitation on murder. They couldn't get the baby away from Shamay. The only way they thought they could get the baby away from Shamay after everything was all said and done 7 months later was to fucking kill her. And that's why they showed up that fucking day on the fucking text. Give me my baby, give me my baby. And then Julian showed up the next day with his mother thinking he was going to get the baby. Instead he got served with court papers thanks to my experience with Andre and what happened to him and his mother. I swear, if I would never have went through what I went through with Andre and his mother, I don't think I would have reacted as quickly as I did, because I wouldn't have known what to do. See, if you don't know what to do. But I knew, because I'd already went through it with MCFD. I don't know what was worse, MCFD or Julian. Obviously Julian. MCFD didn't kill my daughter, Sierra. Sure, they threw her out. Right? Yeah, they made it miserable for her. Yeah, they instigated her being out there for 8 years. But at the end of the day, Sierra, like I said in a previous video, for all her rebellion, if she would have taken that rebellion and applied it towards not doing drugs, she'd still be here. So at some point, Sierra has to take some responsibility. But what these people did to Shamay in terms of the Johnson family, no, completely different, people. Completely different. Completely different. And the more I talk about this, for the ones that are listening and following this story, I mean, you should be getting these light bulb moments and really just like it's all coming together little by little, surely by surely. You can see it all lining up and why it happened, how it happened, right? What the police did, what the police didn't do, and so on and so on, okay? And just remember, at the end of the day, there's big dollars. We, as the common folk, are more valuable dead with our body parts than we are alive. They don't need nurses coming out of high school when they've got the Punjabis already booked in to be the nurse, because it seems like in this part of the world, they're the only ones that can qualify to do that, unless, of course, you come from some rich, well-to-do off Catholic fucking school, right, where you're a guaranteed job just because, right? You know, it's that organized religion, right, that is in partnership with organized crime, okay? Unless, of course, maybe you're some immigrant coming in to fill some slot for some doctor that got knocked off because he didn't want to follow the rules that the government was imposing with their mRNA technology, and, you know, so they lose their job, right? So they have to fill the slot with something. So they're going to bring in some backward thinking wannabe, yeah, I can pretend to be a doctor and, you know, put my John Henry down and just to fake the funk. Because we've got that out here too, okay? I'm just saying. I'm not supposed to be cranky about this. I'm just supposed to read. Number 17, okay. Consequently, due to the room changing between the sisters, which was going to take about a week, we read that, to complete, Shamay decided to go to Julian's house, but she quickly left within a few days because Julian was manhandling her when the baby was on the couch. We read that, and then we read about the part where Tamika told her mom that she was going to call a friend and leave with the baby as Julian was beating on Shamay, basically. Okay, arguing. Oh no, he wasn't manhandling her, he was just arguing with her as a decoy, right? Number 19, 2017, Shamay reacted quickly by running down the stairs, because that's what she said. I went upstairs to go pack my stuff, but I didn't feel right, Mom, so I just went back downstairs, and that's where, you know, she caught wind of what was going on, and had to argue to get the baby back, because Tamika didn't want to get back the baby, right, because they were trying to kidnap the baby people. And don't forget, before the baby was born, Julian's at my back door or at my window screaming that I will never have the baby. I won't even see the baby. So they were plotting and scheming before the baby was even born. And then when I was reading the medical files, just in the last, 2 videos in the past, just prior to this, right? I told you, even one of those workers at the hospital noticed how possessive Julian was over that baby. My baby, my baby. He was being an asshole on Shamay's bedside at the hospital after she gave birth, being authoritarian, being an authoritarian to my baby is my baby, not Shamay's baby, but his baby. And he plotting and fucking scheming, man. He just got worse and worse and worse. Number 19, 2000. Shamay reacted quickly by running down the stairs after she heard Tamika and asked Tamika to give back her baby, as Tamika was holding Amari as if he was her own child, and Shamay had to ask more than once, as she told Tamika that she did not trust her. Okay? Well, if your brother's beating on the mother of the baby, and you're standing there saying, I'm leaving with the baby, and you're not trying to help the mother, clearly there's something wrong with you. Clearly you have an ulterior motive. Where were you going with the baby as your brother was beating on the mother who just had a C-section and probably still had freaking stitches? Like, come on, think about it, people. As the mother, Sonia 1, is sitting on the couch watching all this. Yeah, okay, she was more than just watching. She was instigating it. Okay? 2017. She's like Sonia 3 on YouTube. We all know who Sonia 3 is. There's 1, 2, and 3. Number 20, 2017. Tamika eventually gave back Amari to Shamay, to which Shamay immediately called a taxi and left the premises without taking any of the babies or her belongings, because she couldn't get upstairs. If she would have went upstairs and came back downstairs with the stuff, Tamika would have been gone with the baby, and who knows what would have happened after that, people. Seriously. Considering all things said and what's been going on with that family since, or even before, you know it would have been nothing but a fucking fight. Okay. Instead of calling MCFD on me after they murdered Shamay, they would have been calling MCFD on Shamay to try and keep that baby. Okay? Yeah. Because they were plotting and scheming before the baby was even born. Yeah. 21, 2017. While staying, that's why it becomes premeditated murder as to what happened to Shamay. It just wasn't some random act. Her cigarettes were laced with medical fentanyl. More reason for the government to get involved and nip this shit in the bud. But you see, they don't care about the Shamays in the world. They care about the dead body parts that come in and bring in the ching-ching and ching-ching that holds up the underground economy that helps them to build their fucking next slums from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood as they put the children on the top of the roof blaring under the sun when they're on fucking lockdown and call that a park. Okay, they build the park in on the roof in these freaking 800 square foot fucking $3,000 a month little so-called condos as they're forcing families like mine out onto the streets into homelessness when they're not stealing our family members, one here, one there, and another one there if they're not fucking killing them. Okay? I'm just saying. That's why the government doesn't do anything about it. That's why Shamay has no justice. How does this help Amari? Well, like I said, if and when, whether it's with the Barracuda, okay, or whether it's me on my own having to file another fucking lawsuit. Because if I get turned away 2 times by a lawyer that does not want to represent what happened to Amari, I will do it for myself, and to hell with Judge Ross. Justice Ross, Master Ross, whatever he is, because whatever he was on the computer was fake as far as I'm concerned. Okay, it was a fucking fake charade of nothing, with a Sonya 2 sitting up there, blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay, blah. You sound like Sonya 3 for crying out loud. You really got nothing of substance to say. But mission accomplished. You used and abused a vulnerable family for profit as you plot and scheme to continue to do that just so that you guys, whoever is fucking capitalizing off this in a financial sense, can get rich and then somehow feel superior. See, I'm getting bitter here, right? Okay, number 21, 2017. While staying at Sonia Johnson's house for those few days, Shamay was asked to begin paying rent, despite already paying rent at her home, as she was only going to stay at Julian's house until the room change between the sisters was done. She couldn't believe that they asked her to start paying rent. I said, what? I thought you're just going there for a week or so until, you get these rooms switched around. Like, where did they get off on? That shows you how desperate they were for money, people. Is that why they wanted Amari? So they could go on welfare? As Tamika Johnson sitting up on fucking YouTube accusing me of wanting to be on welfare, and I killed my own daughter just so I could get more money from social services? Yeah, okay. No, I'd take back my daughter any day if I could ever get my daughter back, but there is absolutely no way. The only thing that I can possibly do for my daughter is get her justice, even if it's in a small sense, like this. Are those brain munchers getting to your brain there? Right? I'm just saying. Because if this Barracuda takes on this case, the judge is going to ask what happened to the mother. Well, it's right here. That's what happened to the mother. She got no justice. The mother is still fighting for justice because there is no statute of limitation on murder. Can I prove that she was murdered in terms of the lawyer speaking? Well, that's not what she's there for. She's there for Amari. But she's going to have to speak on behalf of the mother, Shamay, at least to some degree. She can't say that Amari just fell from the sky, right? I'm just saying. See, this is not coming back to haunt me. I'm just glad I did it. It took me a long time to do it. I sat there for hours and hours and hours and hours, drilling everybody's memory to try and get it down pat to a T as best as I could with no misinformation, right? So that the cops had something good to follow up on with their investigation. But little did I know that the cops were corrupt themselves. I didn't know that at that time, people. I know now, though. Yep. 2017. Julian, Tamika, and Sonia also tricked Shamay into having Amari's assigned with only the Johnson last name because the birth certificate was filed all out online with only the Johnson last name because the birth certificate was filed out online and the final submission was done by Julian when another distraction was created to distract Shamay away from what he had done. So I guess it was Julian that was sitting with her at the computer and she got distracted because something was starting to bicker and she turned her head and by the time she went back to look at the computer, it had already been submitted. That's what she told me, so that when it came here in the mail 3 weeks later, she opened it up. Like I said, see right there, her mouth dropped. She couldn't believe her name was not on that birth certificate. So again, it shows premeditated. Okay. They knew what they were doing. And they worked together as a team. Okay. Number 23, 2017. Sonia Johnson eventually brought back, back Shamay's things. A few days later, no, it was more than a few days later, it was like a few weeks, people. Okay. And from that point forward, there was no further contact between Tamika, Sonia, and Shamay for a period of about 6 months. So whatever pictures Tamika's got with Shamay were done before all this happened. Because there was no Tamika around after the fact. And there really was no Tamika around too much while Shamay was pregnant. Maybe there might be one or two, only because, you know, she was trying to get along, hoping that Julian would change. You know how women are. Oh, I'm having a baby, he'll smarten up. Yeah, okay. No. It was quite the opposite. And when I asked her to keep the baby, people, I never thought about that. And if I did think about it, I thought, well, I escaped. Right? You know, because I've been with abusive men before too, right? And I managed to survive. I escaped, and you know, I told her, just don't let him back in, don't let him move back in, and you know, just keep, just whatever. But you know, not too many people calculate murder. Okay, you're dealing with a whole different kind of character when they actually calculate it. Okay. I think the men that I was with, sure, they were violent, but they weren't calculating to murder me. Where Julian was violent and he was calculating more than just to murder Shamay. I mean, eventually, I think, you know, in the beginning it was maybe calculated to take Amari away, calculated to use and abuse her by setting her, you know, making her pay for the apartment, making her pay for everything as he was running around doing whatever he was doing. When that didn't work, you know, of course, you know, she got pregnant and I encouraged her to keep the baby and he thought, oh, he was set for life. And then he got calculating around that and, you know, and just whatever. But once he realized that, you know, she was going to go to college within 12 days and she was going to go see her dad and there was a possibility that she might not come back and, you know, maybe just go to college in the States instead. Who knows? He didn't know. All he knew is he wasn't getting her back, people. She had already slept with Freddie because they had their little rendezvous a month before they killed her, right? Because she slept with Freddie and they found out about it. you know, and it was all calculated because they're calculating people. That's where the planting of the tampon, the planting of the bobby pins, the planting of the cream, the hand cream, in Freddie's room, so that Shamay would come there and, you know, maybe try and make up with Freddie because they weren't quite broken up. But as soon as she's seen another woman's paraphernalia in there, Freddie and her would fight, as Tamika's waiting for them to break up. Not even break up, because she had already slept with with Freddie, while Shamay was still dating Freddie. What I mean by calculating. You don't like this, Tamika? That's too fucking bad. Seriously. Okay? Because there is no justice for Shamay until she gets justice. And she hasn't gotten any justice yet because you're running around free while the government is hoping that you'll go off and do whatever you did to Shamay again to somebody else, so that those workers that come into contact with that dead body can wheel and deal in body parts and repeat the process to hold up that underground economy, so that these buildings can go up, so they can pay their fucking pension plans and their superannuation life insurance policies, so they can steal it from each other. Okay? Been there, done that. Already know. Went through it with John. My daughter, my right. Shamay can't speak for herself. She has to speak a different kind of way. And Amari deserves justice for Amari. Okay? He had a mother. But his mother was taken away from him. Number 23, 2017. Sonia Johnson. Eventually, okay, yeah, no, it wasn't more than a few days. It was like 3 fucking weeks, okay? I remember. I was surprised when she drove up. I didn't even know who she was, because I had never met the woman in my life. And I tell you, she reeked of fucking hate. If you ever met such a hate, she was just, I don't know. She was awful. Well, because they talk bad about me, right? Right? Because they wanted Shamay to leave the house and set up a fucking shack for them, so they could run their prostitutes and their drugs and not be held to account when the place got busted, because everything would have been in Shamay's name. Because they're calculating. 24, 2017 and 2018. Shamay asked Julian several times since Amari's birth to make new application to the federal government to add her last name, Chorney, to Amari's birth certificate. But Julian refused to cooperate with Shamay, and therefore she said she was going to take it to court to have a judge add her name via court order. And that's why she was doing those little Snapchats of him doing the things that he was doing, so that if anything ever went to court, she could call him out with his, well, I don't drink, Your Honor. I don't do drugs, Your Honor. I don't sell dope, Your Honor. And now it's Shamay's turn. Well, actually, he does, Your Honor, because here's, what are they called? Shorts? Those little videos at 10, 15 seconds long or whatever. Here's one of him doing this. Here's one of him doing this. Here's another one of him. So whatever he tells you is one big fat lie, because I've got the living proof through video that he's everything opposite of what he tells you. So, Your Honor, can you please put my name, Chorney, on the birth certificate so that when I want to go see my dad, I don't need a letter from this asshole. I can just cross over the border. Otherwise, she would have had to get a letter from Julian giving her permission to take her own son to cross the border to go see her dad. And therefore, Julian was avoiding Shamay for those 2 weeks while Sonia was bugging Tisha to have Shamay bring the baby by 2 weeks before Shamay was murdered by them. And Shamay was asking Julian to take her with the baby to go see the mother because, you know, the mother is bugging Tisha at the prenatal clinic to have Shamay go by. But Julian said no, and he avoided Shamay. And plus Shamay was trying to get him to, you know, fill out the forms, and he avoided Shamay. He wasn't even around people. He didn't show up until the day he killed her. And that's why Julian wasn't in the picture when Shamay took the baby to his mother's house. 3 days or whatever it was before Julian showed up at the house saying his mother's house got robbed, he needed to come in, and then he killed Shamay. So the only person that could have, unless Julian was hiding out in his mother's house and Shamay didn't know he was upstairs hiding out, but most definitely either it was his sister or it was Julian hiding up upstairs who laced Shamay smokes. I say it was Tamika. Because Shamay wasn't talking to Julian. He wasn't even around. He refused to take Amari to his mother's house because Shamay felt uncomfortable being around that woman. But she wanted to be fair. She wanted that woman to see Amari, being that she was asking Tisha at the prenatal clinic to have Shamay bring the baby by. So Shamay was saying to Julian, look, your mom is bugging Tisha for me to bring the baby by. I don't want to go to your mother's house by myself, considering last time what happened when I was there when I first gave birth to him. You come with me. He said no. But also, they were arguing about this birth certificate shit. He didn't want to sign. He didn't want Shamay going to the States. He wanted the baby. So they premeditated her murder so they thought they could get the baby the next day, people. Will that ever go to court? Probably not. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I just know there is no statute of limitation on murder, and that the government is exploiting murder for profit. Okay? Right? Just by simply saying, oh, they were depressed, they killed themselves with an overdose of something. Oh, they were, you know, suicidal. Yeah. But it was an accident. Move on to the next death. 2,000 deaths later. Right? It's big money for them people. Why should they care about Shamay when they've got 25,000 immigrants wanting to take her place and are willing to do anything and everything to take her place? But before they can take her place, they have to get rid of her. And if they're going to get rid of her, they're going to capitalize on every penny that they can make off of the body, being it's that type of society that we live in. I need to take a break with this because seriously, this upsets me. You know, when I do stuff like this or I think stuff like this, all I think is, you know, that little, you know, when I lay me down. What's that child's prayer? I lay my down head to sleep. I pray to the Lord to, you know, I can't, my grandmother used to make me say it all the time. I lay my head down to sleep. I pray to the Lord, I don't know, keep me safe. And then God bless this person, God bless, God, okay, whatever. And all I can think of is when I go, when it's my time, I see John there. I see Shamay there. I see Sierra there. Of course, I see my grandmother there. Right? But mainly I will migrate more towards Uncle John and Shamay. Those are the two that are the strongest pull. They're pulling me the strongest. I mean, Sierra was there. She'll be there, but the pull is with Uncle John and Shamay. It's like they'll have their hands out. One hand, the other hand. and they will help me through. And then that's when I'll see my grandmother. And of course Sierra, right? I can feel them pulling me. They're pulling me into their world, right? And there's a big part of me that just wants to go. You don't even know. Because I'm caught in a nightmare. I literally am caught in a nightmare. But, you know, if this Barracuda takes on this case for Amari people, then it'll be that much for me when my time comes, because then I can be at peace for Amari at least, right? And for those around him to be able to look after him properly without being under that slave umbrella. Yeah. Because I do believe that if I had resources to look after Amari outside of depending on the government to the degree that I am because of being quote-unquote poor, I might be able to have a little bit more say. But because I'm poor, the government exploits that to their advantage to do whatever it is what they do with their politics. And, you know, he's just another body to them. He's not a person. He's just a statistic. A statistic that has already been robbed of their life. Just a commodity. Anyway, I want to come back. I'm going to check on Amari. And I didn't, what did I only read one page. 2 pages? What page am I on? 3. This will take a week to read this with the amount of talking that I go through. We're on number 25. There were long periods where Julian would not come to the house to see Shamay or the baby because they broke up, right? Or had, and also too, she wanted him to sign those federal papers. It got to the point where she was talking about taking them to court. And then she told me she had those little videos, and that's why she took those videos. If she ever needed it, she had proof that he was everything opposite of what he was trying to say he was. Right? Or had communications with her. So he wasn't even talking to her. Right? Although there were random times when Julian would come around the house but wouldn't stay for any length of time. And I guess you could say that was my fault because I asked her to keep Amari. And then I think, well, what would have happened if I wouldn't have intervened and just said, go ahead, have another abortion. It's probably the best thing for you. You don't want to bring scandal to the family and be another unwed mother like me. God forbid, the Punjabis, you know, you just give them so much to talk about because they're so moral, right? You know, right? They're so moral that they kill their own fucking girls just so they can have boys. Right? Right? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you're so moral. And they do a lot more shit than that, okay? But in their mind, they're moral because, you know, they don't have unwedlock babies. But besides that point, what if I wouldn't have intervened and pleaded with her to keep Amari, right? And she aborted Mari. Do you think that Julian would have still killed her because she killed the babies in vitro through abortion? Or do you think he would have moved on? Which one do you think would have happened? Like, we'll never know. But I wonder, you know, because he was so, I don't know, vengeful. Something wrong with him, right? Would she have gotten pregnant again and went on to abortion number 4, abortion number 5, until finally she figured it out that right? Would she have had, what would have happened if I wouldn't have encouraged, I know that Amari wouldn't be here, that's for sure. If I wouldn't have stepped in and intervened, people, there would be no Amari today. That's why she was coming to me. She let me know because she needed to hear it was okay to keep him. She needed to be told that it was okay and that everything was going to be okay and that she wasn't going to have to struggle through it alone. And I was there for her and I did the right thing and I did it for all the right reasons because I myself don't believe in abortion. Okay? No matter what the consequences are or from where they come from, even if it's the fucking Punjabi community who seem to think that they're so much better than everybody else, but yet they're the ones that are buying the organs. Okay, and they'll do nothing to stop the illegal organ harvesting because they're the ones that want to amass great wealth for themselves, live as long as they can, as they exploit those below them, just so that they can have a good life and everybody else can't. That's below them. I'm just saying. And if it's not the Punjabis, it's the Muslims. If it's not the fucking Muslims, it's the stupid Chinese. And if it's not the stupid Chinese, it's the stupid Catholics. And Eleanor Gilding. Just saying. Well, let's just say she did abort Amari. What do you think would have happened? Do you think he would have killed her anyway? Out of revenge? Hate? Clearly he was plotting and scheming something before Amari was even born. Right? We're raging up here. If he wasn't screaming at me through my window, he was screaming at me through my door. You'll never see the baby. You're never gonna get the baby. I'm like, whoa, the baby's not even here yet. As if I want a fucking baby. I don't want no baby. I wanted Shamay to have the baby. I already had my babies. I wanted my daughter to be whole. Not chopped up into little fucking pieces and a completely emotional wreck. Not only with the fact that she maybe, completely damaged herself for a lifetime to where she could never ever have a kid. Right? Do you think he would have killed her? Do you think their relationship would have carried on? They'd still be together fighting like cats and dogs and everything would be fine, just no babies around? Do you think he just would have moved on and left her be? So that she could hook up back with Freddie with Tamika running around, raging? Like, right? Where would this story have gone if Amari was never born? I sit and I think about these things, people. I look at him and I'm like, gee, Amari, for all the troubles that we have, I'm so happy that you're here. And Nana is fighting so hard for you. I just want you to be loved, looked after, the ones that are looking after you, be able to have the resources to hire a massage therapist, to hire physiotherapist, to hire a tutor, to have a nice kitchen, to be able to have a nice laundry room so that, right? Because you're not going to be easy, people. And then when I go, I don't have to worry. If Murray wasn't here, I wouldn't have to worry about it. But he's here. I do believe that even if Shamay would have aborted the baby, Amari, this is my feeling on it, because I've thought about it enough times, right? Let's just say she would have aborted Amari. I do believe that Julian and his family would have killed her anyway. I think it was just a matter of time. Because they couldn't control her, people. And because they couldn't control her, the violence within that family was just escalating. Because you have to remember, you weren't dealing with just one person. You were dealing with more than one. And I think she would have went back to Freddie, and that just would have been the catalyst. I think Julian and Tamika would have went on a rampage. Yeah. Because as soon as Shamay slept with Freddie, within a month, Shamay was dead. With both of them, Tamika and Julian, on the text, with Tisha the next day on the phone, saying, give us the baby. Tamika was, I have it printed out in these forms. I'm not giving that to the lawyer unless the lawyer asks for it, but I'm definitely giving the lawyer this. If, you know, because if she takes on the case, well, she needs to be aware of the dangers for Amari. What do you think would have happened if she would have aborted Amari? Do you think they would have just left her alone to get on with her life and be free? Because clearly she didn't want to be with Julian, because if she wanted to be with Julian, she wouldn't have been aborting his babies. I think I'm going to end this video now because it's way too long, because I talked too much and didn't read enough. Maybe, I don't know. At the rate I'm going, I'm only on page 3. It would take, I'd have to sit here and just read nonstop without saying anything in order to get it under an hour. But it's almost impossible for me to do that because I feel like I have to talk about each sentence. Now I could finish this page and then end the video. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, where am I? Okay, so number 25. So now we're going on 26. Shamay began to make plans to go back to school and even eventually chose to focus her energies on becoming a nurse. Let me read that again. Shamay began to make plans to go back to school and eventually chose to focus her energies on becoming a nurse's assistant. First it was going to be the nurse's assistant, and then it was going to go on to the RN. I gotta sneeze. Oh, oh. Oh boy. Oh, where did that come from?
You turn them all back around.
That would have provided, okay, hold on. That would have provided gainful employment at $24 per hour after completion of a 9-month college course. That's how she was going to start, as her dad was making plans to pay for RN nursing at any cost, and he was willing to buy her a $6,000 car so she could go do that for 9 months and then start working, and then at some point she would have gone and registered into the RN, which her dad was willing to pay for. And she only had 12 days left. She got the student loan to do that 9-month course, and they killed her. Still got his braces on. It's nice and cool over there. He likes it over there. He gets tired of that corner.
When you're done, can you bring me a glass of water, please? No?
Yeah, hold on. I'm almost done. I'm going to stop this at 25. Or at the end of the page, that is. Stop it at the end of the page. This video has probably been over an hour. Okay, number 27. Shamay had the full support of her mother, father, siblings, and friends, and proceeded to make all the necessary arrangements to go back to school after doing her research on the subject, and was to start college 12 days before her death that happened on April 11th of 2018. 28, 2018. In the month prior to her death, Shamay had a visit with her ex-boyfriend, Freddie Barakato, who came to the house to see her and the baby. Shamay had sexual relations with him, as she shared this information with her sister Tisha. But somehow Tamika got a hold of Freddie's phone, and that's how the beans got spilt, because she hacked into, she likes to take her boyfriend's phone and, you know, do whatever girls do, and I guess he didn't deny it. I don't know. And the urgency to kill Shamay was heightened, because you have to remember, they were plotting and scheming how to take the baby away already, right after the first week, even before Shamay left the hospital. My baby, my baby. Oh, there's something wrong with this guy. He's being too forceful about this my baby stuff, as the mother's laying on the hospital bed recuperating from a C-section. This is awfully strange. Yeah. So don't be surprised a week later that the sister wasn't going to run out the door, kidnap the baby, as they were faking the funk with the fight with a woman that just had stitches from a C-section. As the mother of those two individuals does absolutely nothing to reprimand them and stop them, because I guess she was waiting for rent. That was before she got into that fake car accident and then got that buyout from ICBC car insurance claim. I'm just saying. And of course that didn't happen until after my daughter was murdered by her kids. I'm just saying. Will that be talked about in court? If it should go to court with what happened to Amari and why Amari is the way he is? No. I don't suspect it would. Would this be talked about in any great length or detail? No. I don't suspect it would. But the lawyer can set the record straight. In a diplomatic kind of way. Unlike me. Okay? Shamay had the full support, we read that, arrangements to go to 12 days before her death. That happened on April 11, 2018. Number 28, 2018. In the month prior to her death, okay, we read that, right? Baby had sexual relation with Freddie, we read that. Okay, number 29, 2018. It's not known whether Freddie was dating Tamika at this time, but other people have stated that Freddie and Tamika had begun dating again in February of 2018 and were together as a couple when Freddie came to see Shamay. I don't know. At one point he broke up with her. I think through her videos she's trying to say that she was still with him, but I don't know how that happened. If he ended up here, doesn't sound like he was with her, but who fucking knows? Honestly, I think Freddie and Shamay were just trying to make each other jealous, and they were using Tamika and Julian to do it. right? I think they still want to be with each other, and in a weird kind of way, because I couldn't imagine going through what any of them went through, considering how it all started and why, right? Like, I don't know what I would have done. And that's because Shamay started dating Julian after she broke up with Freddie. And Freddie didn't start dating Tamika until a couple of months after Shamay started dating Julian. But the only reason Freddie started dating Tamika was stalking Freddie while Shamay was still dating Freddie, slept with Freddie while Shamay was still with Freddie, but on the verge of maybe breaking up, so that, you know, she could put a deeper wedge between Shamay and Freddie, because she was going to steal Freddie away from Shamay. Whether Shamay realized that or not, I don't know. I don't think she did, because she met Julian at a party, in some hall party or something. Right? I don't know. I just know that it was Tamika with the ulterior motive. Shamay just wanted to get on with her life. Maybe she was using Julian to rub it into Freddie's face that she had another man. And then Freddie was using Tamika to rub it in Shamay's face that he had Tamika, Julian's sister. Young people are stupid. But that's part of being young. Right? I'll never figure it out. Would I have... If there was distance and time between all, like, years, I could see it happening, but it was like back to back. Like, back to back. Like, it was, like, I don't know. Anyway, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not known whether Freddie was dating Tamika at this time. Okay, we read that. Julian began coming around the house again within the first week or so of April, as Shamay told her mother that Julian's mom's house got robbed. So maybe the house got robbed before. I don't know. He was hiding out that night. He was hiding out, period, at some point, okay? Because here, I'm saying within the first week, he started coming around. And he murdered Shamay on the 11th. But it was also within 2 weeks that his mother was badgering Tisha at the prenatal clinic to have Shamay. But thing is, Julian wouldn't take Shamay. So it was far and few in between, okay, of Julian coming to the house, regardless of what the issue was. Number 31. Julian was seen by Judy to be standing at Shamay's window at 12:30 a.m. about 1 week or so before her death. Yeah, okay, that's what I mean. He was, right? So at 12:30 in the morning, he's standing out by her fucking window. Let me in. Let me in. My mother's house got robbed. Yeah, okay. When asked why he was standing there, he told Judy that Shamay had asked him to come to the house a half an hour ago, but, okay, well, I guess his mother's house hadn't gotten robbed that day, that she must be sleeping and he was trying to wake her up so she could open the door for him. She's not going to ask him a half an hour ago to come to the house and then fall asleep. He was lying. And I don't think his mother's house had gotten robbed by then. It was like at the time when he showed up at the house. Yeah. That's why, because he was hiding out. He was hiding out. So he said. But that was just the excuse. He wasn't hiding out. He was finishing off the job. Anyway, we're only on page 4.
What are you reading?
Something that I wrote the cops. And there's 25 pages, as if I'm going to sit here and talk about 21 more pages. So I'm going to turn off this video. And then maybe tomorrow, after I finish photocopying what I need to photocopy, I'll attempt to do this again without interrupting and feeling like I have to explain everything because of whatever.